Well, the center of your brain has a small gland in it called the pineal gland, which, as you can see here, it was called pineal because it's shaped like a pine cone. This is the exact geometric center of your brain. It's right here. Check this out. This is the Vatican Square, and this is a gigantic statue of a pine cone. It's the largest statue in the Vatican. So this all has to do with, I'm going to start walking a little bit. This all has to do with the knowledge of the higher forces, sacred geometry. All this stuff focuses on the pineal gland, the pine cone. Now, what do they call this actual part of the Vatican? They call it the court of the pine cone. Okay? How weird is that? Here's the pine cone and here's a guy. Look at that. I mean, a man is not even tall enough to reach the bottom of the pedestal of this pine cone. What the heck is the point? If everything that I'm telling you is bullshit and you go home and are like, oh my God, this guy has been smoking some really weird stuff. Okay, fine. If you want to believe that, that's fine, but answer me this. What the hell is that? And why is it there? And why do they care? And why is it in every single ancient culture in the world? It says the same exact thing, and it looks just like a gland. Any of them could have chopped open a head and found this gland in your brain, and they did. Well, this is what's at the bottom of that statue, okay? That's Egyptian cuneiform down there, and the lion, like the Sphinx. This is the Vatican. Is anybody getting a does not compute on this? You got the ibises around the top of the thing, okay? You got this weird mirror ball on the outside of the courtyard. You got this open sarcophagus, like in the Great Pyramid. Do you think maybe that they have a little bit more of an affinity with Egypt than we've been giving them credit for?
Fractions are clearly of practical importance to anyone dividing quantities for trade in the market. To log these transactions, the Egyptians developed notation which recorded these new numbers. One of the earliest representations of these fractions came from a hieroglyph which had great mystical significance. It's called the Eye of Horus. Horus was an Old Kingdom god, depicted as half man, half falcon. According to legend, Horus's father was killed by his other son, Seth. Horus was determined to avenge the murder. During one particularly fierce battle, Seth ripped out Horus's eye, tore it up, and scattered it over Egypt. But the gods were looking favorably on Horus. They gathered up the scattered pieces and reassembled the eye. Each part of the eye represented a different fraction, each one half the fraction before. Although the original eye represented a whole unit, the reassembled eye is 1/64 short. Although the Egyptians stopped at 1/64, implicit in this picture is the possibility of adding more fractions, halving them each time, the sum getting closer and closer to 1, but never quite reaching it. This is the first hint of something called a geometric series, and it appears at a number of points in the Rhind Papyrus. But the concept of infinite series would remain hidden until the mathematicians of Asia discovered it centuries later.
Around 1200 AD, a man named Leonard Pisano, better known as Fibonacci, discovered a sequence of numbers that created a very interesting pattern. The sequence begins with the numbers 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and continues indefinitely. Each number is obtained by adding the last two digits together. A rectangle with a length and width of any two of the numbers of this sequence forms what is known as the golden rectangle, a perfect rectangle. A golden rectangle can be broken down into squares the size of the next Fibonacci numbers down and below. If we were to take a perfect or golden rectangle, break it down into smaller squares based on Fibonacci's sequence, and divide each with an arc, the patterns begin to take shape. We begin to see Fibonacci's spiral. the spiral in and of itself is insignificant. Its importance is revealed in where we find it. Take, for example, the sunflower. The display of its florets are in perfect spirals of 55, 34, and 21, the sequence of Fibonacci. The fruitlets of the pineapple create the same spiral based on the sequence. The pine cone does the same. As currents move through the ocean and the tide rolls onto the shore, the waves that bring in the tide curve into a spiral that can be mathematically diagrammed onto a plot at the points 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and 55. Buds on trees, sand dollars, starfish, petals on flowers, and especially the nautilus shell are formed with this exact same blueprint. With each segment of growth, the nautilus adds to itself one more value on Fibonacci's scale. This blueprint can be seen around us on a small scale every day, but the greatest example of all is directly above our heads. At an average of 100,000 light years across, even the spiral of the galaxies above us are formed with the exact design that the tiny shell is formed. This sequence, or blueprint, appears to be the trademark of a designer, a proof of a creator, something left behind indicating the one who was there, a fingerprint. As we scan our universe from the tiny flower to the awe-inspiring galaxy, we see the fingerprint of God.
have a golf ball-sized consciousness. When you read a book, you'll have a golf ball-sized understanding. When you look out, a golf ball-sized awareness. And when you wake up in the morning, a golf ball-sized wakefulness. But if you could expand that consciousness, then you read the book, more understanding. You look out, more awareness. And when you wake up, more wakefulness. It's consciousness. And there's an ocean of pure, vibrant consciousness inside each one of us. And it's right at the source and base of mind, right at the source of thought, and it's also at the source of all matter.